Call to order the December 14th meeting of the Danville Board of Education. The first item is to approve the agenda. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the agenda as submitted.
Second?
Second.
All right, the motion passes. Is there a motion to, okay, we did that. Bear with me, never done this before. Okay, the next item on the agenda are reports and presentations. Any board member comments? All right, move on to the superintendent's report.
I want to take a moment to acknowledge the tremendous opportunities we've had for students both since the Thanksgiving holiday. There have been some of the most incredible presentations by students, primarily here at Gravely Hall, that have done performance in various ways, whether it's been chorus of band, which is coming on Thursday evening, plays from the middle school, a dual language presentation of fables by Hogshead Elementary, a multi-grade performance of choir from Jimmy Rogers Elementary. Tolliver has just done their Discovery Days. It's been a neat, it's always a fun time to be in Danville, especially when we get the opportunity to see all the different kinds of things that happen in our district. It takes on a tremendous amount of effort on the part of staff and students and parents as we make these opportunities and events happen. The traditional is, I think for us it'd be easier to say that which is non-traditional is much more of our tradition than anything else. So I want to thank everyone who's put their time in. Hope that you check the calendar, the Gravely website in particular, to be able to follow these events in particular. So we've got more coming on this week, and as well as our winter sports have kicked in. Wrestling, swimming, robotics continues, and of course basketball have all begun. So it's a great time to see all of our Danville students performing in 1,000 different ways and to see the diversity of talents that exist. So please pay attention to your calendar and join us at all the activities that you can make time for to participate.
Fantastic. The next item are our celebrations of excellence. Dr. Luke?
Mr. Smith, you want to go first?
Have two separate groups here that I'm going to acknowledge both through athletics and academics. The first individual I'd like to recognize, and if you'll come up when I call your name, Stephen Ray. Stephen did an outstanding job on the football field for us this year. He was the Advocate Messenger Area Offensive Player of the Year, the 2A District 7 Player of the Year, and was selected to play in the Best of the Bluegrass All-Star Game. So we wanted to recognize him for his efforts this year and what a great job he did. In addition, just wait. Yes.
Take a couple. All right.
Also going with our football theme, we also want to recognize Clay Clevenger, our football coach. He was the 2A District 7 Coach of the Year, the 2A Kentucky Football Coaches Association Coach of the Year, and the Advocate All-Area Coach of the Year. And we appreciate the efforts you put forth with our young men this year, and just a great season. Just a little short, but man, you really brought us back. Yeah, that's true. Brought it back this year, and really appreciate the job you did.
I wanted to brag on Stephen. Stephen was actually a kind of a late pickup for the All-Star game, and but he goes up. He reported on Thursday, and I just wanted to brag on him just a little bit more. I get a text Thursday night from one of the coaches in the All-Star game and said, "Man, this Ray kid really doing well." So I texted Stephen, "How's it going?" "Well, it's going all right, Coach. I'm working hard, but I'm still not starting yet." Get a text Friday afternoon from the same coach. He's moved his way into the starting lineup. So then I get a text from Stephen, and he was like, "Coach, I'm starting now." And then I get a text Saturday afternoon and say, "Coach, I'm the team captain. It's amazing what hard work does." And so, good job with that. Yep.
I also want to recognize members of our academic team, which is coached by Mr. Kramer, because they qualify for state. The members are Daniel McAllister, Annis Gondal, Eli Gooch, Sarah Guzzi, Emery O, Race Hellant, and Saif Siddiqui. Don't believe they're here. Oh, I'm sorry. We figure everybody else must be practicing. They just let you out to represent everybody, right? Appreciate these folks and their efforts in making Danville High School look good. Thank you.
Well, we kind of want to make a tradition of always recognizing our Danville Diploma Skill exhibitors, which we have some tremendous exhibitions of those every single day. But for this month's presentation, I would like to recognize a student who worked really hard in taking initiative. She followed me around basically and asked me almost every single day, and also just came up with the idea pretty much on her own. If the middle school students could use their new library cards, which are photo IDs, as a way to get into the ball games, because the high school kids get to use their photo IDs and get in the ball games for free. And so this child was asking me, why can't we just do that, Miss Lee? And I was like, well, I don't know why you can't. Let me check with the coaches, because it just cuts into their gate. They don't make so much money if the kids don't pay. But I checked with all the coaches, and it was every single day or near that this one student came up to me and reminded me and took the initiative to pursue me and make sure that I was on track with this. And finally, one day, I was able to talk to our bookkeeper and get the word that yes, the middle school students at Bate now can get in free with their library card to all home game events just for the middle school. And the kids have just loved that. It has been a really big deal at our school. So this person has made a tremendous impact on our school all by herself, and her name is Amaya Crawford. And we've also had some great athletic success already this year. Our cheerleaders have made us very proud. They went and they won the region and will be participating in the statewide competition this Saturday. Is that right, girls, this Saturday? That's what I've been told. So I'd like to recognize each of them for their hard work and their skills and just their perseverance. Their teamwork has been excellent as well. And they've also been serving as some pretty terrific role models in our building every single day. So girls, when I call you up and calling you in alphabetical order, and some of you won't be here, but that's how I'm going to keep the certificate straight. So just come up if I call your name and I'll hand you the certificate. We'll line up right here and we'll get a picture. Alicia Armstrong, I don't believe is here tonight. Alicia Armstrong's been working great, doing a great job too. Claire Bibb. Bree Crabtree, I have not seen you here, so she's not here. Madison Eads, couldn't come. Jenna Haynes is here. Come on up, Jenna. Thank you for being a great leader. I'll just stand right over there. I'll get you. Let's see. Jenna. Dina Israel is also here. Thank you too, Dina. Nitria Johnson, I saw you come in. Great job. There you go. Olivia McGurr. There you go, Olivia. Thank you. Precious Montgomery. You snuck in the back. I didn't know you were here. I'm glad you are. All right. Lena Morales. Lena Morales is also our homecoming queen for our first ever homecoming this weekend, which is fabulous. Here you go, Lena. Really? Alex Paget. Alexis. Well, I do know your name is Alexis. Come on up, Alexis. Thank you. And Lucy Sebastian could not come. Contessa Slaughter. I don't think Darian or Caitlin are here. Okay. There you go, Contessa. Thank you so much. These girls really do work hard. It's definitely a sport at our school, and they're great competitors and great performers and great role models for all of us.
I would like to take this opportunity to recognize one of our staff members, Amber Miner. If you will come on up. Back in about 2000, Kentucky Department of Education, along with University of Kentucky School of Gatton, developed a Certified School Finance Manager program. And it's a 3-year program. It's a week long each year, and it's an in-residence program. And at the close of those 3 years, then you're given a test, and if you pass it, you get a certificate for Certified School Finance Manager, and that's a step then towards Certified School Finance Officer. So Amber successfully completed her 3 years, and she passed her test. And so we have a certificate that was developed by Danville Schools for Certificate of Excellence, but I will let you know that I intercepted the real thing. And here is your University of Kentucky certificate from School of Gatton Business. And so for successfully completing 3 years of obtaining this certificate, it's a big deal. So congratulations. Real thing. The real thing.
Thank you so much to everybody who came out tonight, and congratulations to everyone who was acknowledged. The next thing on our agenda is the technology survey results. Yeah, please feel free to leave. It's going to get kind of boring now.
Oh, yes,
Yeah. That's right, Brian. We'll try to make up for everybody all here.
Yeah. I'm just going to give you a little update on a couple of technology projects that we've had recently. The first one, you remember a few months back we talked about wireless upgrades for elementary schools. We were waiting on some federal money, and we were hoping to get the project accomplished in the summer, but the federal money came in a little bit late, so we did end up accomplishing that project. It wasn't until October 30th. But now we can say that we have nice wireless coverage in all 5 of our buildings, which is something the elementaries were lacking for a long time. So with that project came our Chromebook project. If you remember, we bought 10 Chromebooks for every teacher, grades 3, 4, and 5 at all 3 elementary schools. This is the type of Chromebook we bought, and I'm just going to pass it around. You may be interested, you may not, but this is a Dell Education Chromebook, and it was made for education, and there's a few features about this that are different than most laptops or Chromebooks. One is you can turn it this way, and so, you know, if a kid accidentally puts it all the way back, it's not going to break the screen. These were also military tested, so if you drop it, they're not going to break. You know, let's not try that, but they're not supposed to break. You could also accidentally slam down the screen and have a pen or a pencil in it, and the screen is going to kind of give way a little bit, so it's not going to crack. So these were definitely the ones we wanted to go with. You can look, and out of the 190 that we ordered, we've had no breakages, and that's been all year long, so yeah, we'll knock on wood. But with this project, like I said, our goal was to start the project at the beginning of the year. We took these teachers over the summer and we gave them a day of training on how to use the Chromebooks, how to use different apps, how to use the Google platform. The TRTs and I at each building kind of did a training with all 19 teachers. And we handed them the Chromebooks. We said, go for it, see what you can come up with. And so after that, a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I surveyed the teachers because we wanted to collect a little bit of data to kind of see where we were, especially since we kind of had a late start with the wireless implementation. And so I'm going to share those results very briefly. We surveyed a portion of each of all 3 schools. The results are kind of behind me if you can see them, and I've got a paper I'll give you in just a second. And so far, the teachers said they've mainly used their Chromebooks for our programs, Greenbox and Lexia, those are our personalized learning programs where each kid can work at their own pace as they go through them. But they've also used them for projects and research and different things. So you can see the majority, 80% of the teachers said they've used it for a combination of both Dreambox, Lexia, and other projects. And that's what we're shooting for, because we want them to use it for all kinds of things. If you scroll down a little bit more, Google logins, if you're familiar with the way Google works, you can log in, you can share documents, and you can do various things with Google. And that's another one of our goals for all of our kids. Every kid has a Google login, and our goal is for the teachers to use those Google logins with the students where they can collaborate online with each other and with other classes and even other schools. So you can see so far we have about 67% who have attempted to use Google logins and collaborate with other students and teachers. And so that's a good goal, and our goal is to get to 100% by the end of the year. And we are going to target different teachers, different classrooms, and we're going to provide them training that they need throughout the second semester. And then at the end of the year in the summer, we're going to have a follow-up training that's a half day or a day to kind of see where we're at and what we need to go into next year. We bought each teacher a charging station that's not mobile. It's a little box that sits on a counter. It locks the Chromebooks, but more importantly, it charges the Chromebooks. If you know anything about Chromebooks, they hold a charge about 9 hours, even when they're being used. So you charge it overnight, it's good for the whole day. All of the teachers like the boxes that we got them. You know, it's just a box, but it works for them and it charges. Google Classroom, you may have heard of that before. That's kind of just an online platform that teachers can use with kids. We have several teachers who have tried it, several who haven't, and so that's another one of our goals, is to kind of let the teachers try that out with their students. And then we also wanted to see where the students or where the teachers were and what help they needed. So I gave them several questions to answer, and you can, that's kind of cut off the way that it's working, but 26% of our teachers said they wanted some help with Google logins. We had 53% say they wanted ideas for using the Chromebooks in the classroom other than what they've already used them for. We had 53% say they wanted a TRT to come in and model a lesson for them on how to use a certain app or something. And then we had 100% say that they want more information on different kinds of apps and programs that they can use with Chromebooks. And then we had 66% say that they wanted help with Google Classroom. So I think that's a pretty good start based on we've only had good wireless in place for a while, a couple months or a month and a half. But here's what I really wanted to share with you, and I gave you a copy of, each one of you a copy of this. This was kind of the other, and you know in a survey when you put other feedback, you never know what you're going to get. So I was very happy with what we got. Several teachers responded, as you can tell, and I'm not going to read them all to you, but you can see that they basically love the Chromebooks. They want more Chromebooks. This has changed the way a couple of them have taught. So it's a good project, I think, so far. So we're going to continue on with it. We're going to provide more training, and then we're going to kind of reevaluate next summer and see where we're at. The other thing that we're going to hopefully implement this coming up year is we're going to buy some sort of tablet device for the kindergarten, first, and second grade teachers. We've kind of talked to the teachers, in a Chromebook for a kindergarten or a first grade, it's kind of difficult because you know they don't necessarily know how to type, and tablets for that age are just much easier to integrate. So that's what we're shooting for. We're going to try to give every teacher 10 of those again with a charging box. We haven't decided what kind of tablet yet. We're going to survey the teachers and do some research on that, but hopefully our plan is to purchase those toward the end of the year, provide a 1 or 2 day training for those teachers over the summer, and then kind of implement it like we did the Chromebooks. And this time, luckily, we won't have to wait on wireless to be in place. So that's kind of a brief overview of where we're at with those projects and what's coming up. Does anybody have any questions?
I was just curious, you know, on that, like that graph you showed at the end, where the needs were assessed, where they said we need more help with this. So who is going to address those? The principals or the TRTs?
The TRTs, we have TRTs in all 3 elementary schools. They teach computer-related classes for about half a day. They do a few other things, like they work with the program review and some things like that, but they do have some collab time in their day or in their week. So we're going to kind of use those guys to target. They're the most experienced with the Chromebooks. They're familiar with the technology, so that's kind of how we're going to tackle it, and then we'll decide whether or not we're going to have a district-wide PD or just kind of a PLC type thing. So,
Do you, or any knowledge of how many of our homes actually have internet?
Internet access. A fairly decent estimate would be between 75 and 80% of our homes have some sort of internet connection. Now that could be dial-up, but it's some sort of internet connection.
I just see the communication between the Chrome and the Google being able to possibly even conduct some things at home if it needs to be.
Yeah, and right now, in the first year anyway, the Chromebooks stay at school, but that's something we're also looking in, if we can target certain students who may need a device at home or who may need an internet connection at home, how to provide that.
It is no small task to have a ubiquitous cloud internet access in the building. For these guys to have knocked it out in the time frame that they did with 0 hiccups, and to be able to have juggled access points from the beginning of the year to that point in time, for folks not to be marching on all of us and saying that this is, I've been in other districts that will struggle for years trying to achieve what they did in a few months. And to then have teachers with this sort of response for a rollout shows that not only is it about just sometimes dumping in user technology and saying, here, go, but the structure to provide, the support, the training, and the scaffold folks' experience with it has made for this to be a huge success, better than I think we could have ever anticipated at this point in time in the school year, and really does lay solid groundwork moving forward, both with this and the expansion for the other grades.
And I will say one last thing. Our last part of this project is we actually have a person here today, tomorrow, and Wednesday who is walking through every single space and every single building with a computer. He has kind of a necklace
Strapped.
computer.
I saw
Yeah.
him down there.
Okay, yeah, he's here
Good.
today. And he's going into every corner. Do we have a strong connection? And so he's going to give us that information. And if we need to tweak, add, or adjust an access point to get that area up to par, then that's what we're going to do.
So is that every school?
Every school.
Every school?
Yep.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Brian.
All right, the next item is the innovation report. Dr. Luke?
At the action plan, you guys were given the draft of our status update. You want to be able to have the opportunity, if there were questions or issues that I could address, explain. A number of the principals are here as well to help support the conversation.
I would just like to say that going over all this really made me feel better about where we are on things. I'll be honest, I was never quite sure. I think, and I sent an email to Dr. Look and the rest of the board, but I believe we have a lot of ownership going on with wanting to creatively teach our kids and go beyond the box, out of that box and do more. And it seems like it's really starting to work or is working. I think sometimes we take for granted that we don't always have creative people, and I know that's not true. And sometimes we just have to figure out what direction warrants what's creative and what's not. Because a lot of folks will discount themselves and say there's no way I could do anything any differently when they probably already are. So I think the recognition of all that is quite remarkable. And I know we've had our stumblings about innovation, but I know in my heart, I knew we were still doing the things that needed to be done, and they really were being done correctly. So I have to just take this time to applaud all the principals and the staff of this entire district and everyone on what's been accomplished, because this says a lot. So thank you all.
I guess my only question was for the high school during the EDGE time, for the personalized learning. I know we had discussed it when the site-based came, as far as trying to maybe hone in on changing some of that or making it more structured. I know that we're using that as a time for remediation too, but has any more thought been given to how, if we're doing remediation, are there other ways to challenge maybe people who don't need the remediation?
Yeah, we're right now, that was the immediate focus.
Right.
Because we had such a high rate of novice and apprentice, we had to jump on that quick.
Right.
Part of the issue is with teachers creating classes or creating opportunities for those students who have already, met benchmark, done this, done that. They're already at a level they need to be. Creating opportunities, number one, that are of interest to them, so they will kind of buy into, and that's been a struggle. So that's kind of the next thing is, what are we going to do? Do we suddenly look at and assign them to that? Maybe something they're not necessarily interested in, which kind of defeats the purpose. So getting back to the innovation part, it's coming up with experiences that those kids are going to buy into, rather than just sitting and making it into a study hall someplace or catching up on work in their latest AP class. But then at the same time, if that's where they feel like they need to be, you want to give them the opportunity to do that. But the issue, and this has occurred this year and last year in talking to teachers, is creating things that they're interested in signing up for. It's almost like feeding a teenager. It's almost impossible because you never know what they're going to eat. You come up with these great ideas of classes that you think they're going to buy into, and when it comes time to sign up, they don't. And so these classes don't go because there's no interest. So it's a process of trying to figure out what they're going to be interested in.
And I'd say, I guess that's, hearing you talk, I guess that's a constant struggle. Cause
It is, and a lot of times, you take surveys of them, and they say they'll be interested in this, and then when it's offered, maybe not so much. So that's a work in progress. And really, we've talked about this just today, a group of us, that this is something during the spring we need to look at, not only for the spring, but also for next year and moving forward. Because it's got to have a little more structure than they thought it was originally going to have, but at the same time allow people to pick, and so it's always maintaining that balance.
At our last meeting, when we split up with the councils and we're talking about different things, the presentation of learning that we used to have, the high school, that we at the middle school, has kind of gone by the wayside. I was just wondering if that had any spot in this plan, or what you thought about bringing that back.
There's been some brief discussion of it amongst staff. There was even some talk of trying to put something together at the end of this semester, but it was decided there just wasn't enough time to do that. And so it's on the burner, but it's kind of on the back burner right now. Probably during the spring there will be something done along those lines. Right now I don't know what it's going to look like.
And this is just for all the viewers at home. This is a very lengthy document. There's so many things covered. It's easy to pick out what I'm seeing that's not in it because there's so much. There's so much in here. So I'm just wondering about ACT's mentioned it a little bit. So to utilize advisory for ACT prep. Has the council talked much about anything else that's going to happen with the ACT? And
yeah, a lot of it has to do with integrating ACT prep back into the classrooms. The most effective prep for ACT is to put those skills and that knowledge in the classroom. And I think some of that has not been monitored as well as maybe it should have been. So we're looking at, of course, number one, putting the ACT prep deal into advisory, but also the skills that have to be taught within the classroom and the content areas, more focus on that. A lot of that relates back to quality core standards, getting those a little bit more focused in our content areas.
Okay. And then this was just for Dr. Look. just in our innovation plan, giving the ACT to 10th graders was part of the plan. I'm not seeing that anywhere.
It remains.
Oh, it does, okay.
There is, the state right now is challenging us on it, which has been, we're in the middle of a series of email exchanges over this. The amendment that we submitted states that there will be a formative 10th grade assessment for college readiness. When we wrote the plan, the ACT plan, sorry, it's gonna make that confusing. ACT plan that was dead and gone as of last spring. So the formative assessment, which would show us where our students are in progress on ACT, is the ACT administration. The state is having difficulty, it seems, in being able to consider that. I'm not quite sure what's unclear for them, but we go back and forth now over a series of emails. And so we are still aiming for that. It's written into our plan, it's written into the amendment, it's explicitly stated as the first item. It may be that they are reluctant based upon that we were still the only district that was looking to highly utilize the ACT for sophomores. I'm not sure. So we continue to mine for it. We've got the budget set aside for it, we've got it listed in the plan, it's listed in the amendment, it remains there. And they, for whatever reason, and I've got a conversation on Thursday scheduled to try and figure out what remains to make this difficult.
Are they offering any kind of alternative?
No. And we've paid for it.
Right.
We've always paid for it.
Right.
So, it's, I don't get it, to be honest, and we're gonna work it out.
So my other thought after reading it is, as an action plan, I just wonder if there's a way that we can have something that's condensed almost to like 2 pages where we can kind of see it, check in with ourselves. Are we, instead of the paper that this is, could there not be something where it's a little bit more user-friendly just to check in? Are we doing this so that when there is the report each month, we're kind of looking, yes, we're doing that, yes, we're doing that. Where this, it would be pretty difficult to check in with ourselves because there's so much in it to kind of pull out and highlight the things that are most important to us. Maybe that's a discussion we could have at the work session next month. Just each one of us say, these are the things that need to be looked at repeatedly to make sure we're keeping our eye on the goal and that this is what, yeah. Does that make sense to you all?
We can work on condensing. I don't want to lose the individuality of the schools in the plan. That's why it was laid out this way, so you have the school summaries. And then towards the back, you see those things that are across all schools. So the individuality, I don't want to have lost in a checkbox block, so we'll have to make sure that that's protected for those schools to have their individual work significant and valued in it. And that's where really, I think your action plan that you refer to is really the last couple of pages for those things that are true to all. When it talks about Lexi and Dreambox and the integration that we hear from technology, the use of Master Connect across our elementary schools in the plan to expand the middle and high, which we are already moving along in that system of doing so. So I really think what you're talking about is primarily the last couple of pages. But I didn't want to leave out the work of our schools that have invested to make this, in fact, part of their CSIPs as well.
Beth, can I ask you how your intersession went?
Fabulously.
I'm sorry I couldn't be there for any of it, but I would have loved to have been.
It was really wonderful. It was wonderful. We had about 21, I think, guest speakers, and we rotated each grade level through 7, like they have 7 classes right now. They went through 7 different sessions, 2 days in a row, so they got 14 sessions, and there were health issues, bullying. They had the police come in and talk about different issues career-wise as far as that goes, as well as just dealing with police in general. We had a dance teacher come and do yoga, a session of yoga. So they had just a myriad of experiences. Most of them went to the practical living type of program review kind of thing. But they loved it. The kids were fantastic, and they had a sheet that they completed, a reflection sheet, what they learned in each session, how they connected that to the Danville diploma skills. And it got rave reviews. Everybody was wonderful. It took a whole bunch of people to pitch in and make that happen. So, I don't know if you have children in school, but anyway, if you heard anything about it, they seemed just tickled to death. They're about 30-minute sessions. Some of them were longer, because we also had our clubs that day. And they have loved their club days. They get once a month. So those days, we had 2 days worth of clubs first thing in the morning, which has been really fun for them too. We had the FHA people, junior achievement come in, had animals, we had like a rooster they brought to the gym one day. And so they got to pick a club. So they each got to go to club Monday and Tuesday, and then they had sessions after that. And they just seemed like they loved it. I mean, you all can chime in if you have other feedback, but it was wonderful. We're gonna try to do it again in the spring for one day, if we can find a good one day to do it. Focus on the arts that time.
No, I heard great things about it.
Did you?
So I just wanted to see what your comments were.
It was just.
How it went with the students and parent reaction.
I've only heard good things. I have not heard anything negative.
Okay.
Thank you for asking.
You're welcome. And then on that, when I know there's been some talk about the students not wanting intercession to end or be over with, any new plans or?
We're looking to schedule toward the end of the year. Consensus among our staff was we're going to move it in the calendar and also shorten it up a little bit. So we're probably looking at a 3-day period, somewhere between the 10-day EOC window and the AP testing window, which places us in right about the middle of 1 or 2 weeks of May.
Okay. That's good. Thank you.
All right, any other questions about the innovation report? Okay, the personnel report? Wait. Does that mean something? Yeah, it's an attachment, so just take some time to look at that. And on to reserve for the public. Is there anyone who would like to address the board? All right, we'll move on to minutes of the previous meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from these 2 meetings?
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from November 9th, 2015 and November 16th.
Is there a second?
A second.
Okay. There's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. And next item is the school calendar.
So you have a draft of the 16-17 calendar that should be on your attachments. So just real briefly, then we'll talk about some feedback we've had recently in just a minute after we go over. And again, this is just a draft. No action's been taken. So August 10th is our first day for students. That date seems early, but if you look at most school districts, they've got to get started early. Fayette and Jefferson both are starting August 10th, and they're usually the last ones that start. So we'll be right in the ballpark with everybody. There'll be very few districts that start later than that. And then we have a 7.5, 8 week period with just one day, which is Labor Day off. And then our fall break is scheduled for 3 through 7, which lines up with last year's fall break. That does not match up with Boyle County's fall break. Theirs is the week after that. So, no, that's always something that people like to discuss, that do our breaks match up. This one, you can look at different districts. Different districts have them different. Fayette, again, they're usually out early with their calendar, so I'll reference it. Most of the time, they're taking fall break. They only have 2 days, and that's the 6th and the 7th. So I think you'll see that as districts adopt, you're going to see some in that first week, some in the second.
Has there's been finalized Boyle counties, do you know? Has it been?
I'm not sure if there's been
It's
finalized.
been proposed, but
Yeah,
they're in the
they're in the
process.
same process we are.
Do you know, are other surrounding counties when their fall break is?
A lot haven't adopted. I think Mercer has, and I think Mercer's lines up with Boyle, but I want to be careful in saying that. I think Mercer has adopted. I think they adopt a 2-year cycle. So I think what we're looking at was approved the year before, like I think Steve's talked about doing. I think they would adopt on 2 years. So I think theirs lines up in that second week, but a lot of districts are in the same process, so we don't know exactly when theirs is gonna be. But I think you're gonna see a lot in that first week and a lot in the second week. I will say that if you look at our calendar, we've got basically 8 weeks, with 1 day, Labor Day, that is straight through. Then our fall break is the 3rd through the 7th, then we come back a week. Then we have our 9-week break. So if we did move it back, we would have fall break, and a 4-day week, and another 4-day week, and then another 4-day week. Well, we'll go 1 week, and then another 4-day week with election. So we would have a lot stacked back to back there. So
And when
people-
was it this year?
It's always been the first.
It's the corresponding. This week is exactly what the last week was. And when we talked with the calendar committee, we talked about trying to keep the calendar looking very similar to this year, so we could get, we've talked about getting feedback from a whole calendar so that we can make decisions based on how did all that play out in the whole. So sometimes when you're judging it month to month or in a semester, it looks one way, and then at the end of the year, you can look back and say, oh, that worked good or that didn't work good. So I think it is smart, maybe for us to look at trying to keep it very similar to see what folks like and what folks didn't, whether that's staff or parents or students.
So we aren't looking to approve this tonight then? We're just
Well,
looking at this
we've
draft?
gotten some feedback on a couple on the winter break issue where we took those 2 days. We talked about taking the 19th and 20th. And some of our staff feel like that 10-day break is something that they like. And so I would imagine that most of the feedback, you're probably either going to be neutral from strictly speaking from a staff standpoint, and they're either going to be neutral on it, or they're probably going to really want the 10 days and the 3 weekends. And so, there are pros and cons to that. And so we have heard back in the last couple of days on that some of our staff would like to see us keep Christmas falls on Sunday. And so that weekend is if you're traveling, and my wife works for Delta, so we don't have to worry about flying and getting tickets, but sometimes, I haven't done this for a long time, but I guess there's breaks and stuff on flights and stuff that might be better over weekend days. And so, and I don't know all the ins and outs of that, but there's been some feedback about having that extra weekend before Christmas. And Christmas just falls. Getting out the 16th seems, we've talked about kind of collegiate. And I think UK, for example, is in finals this week. And so it's going to feel like it's going to look like more of a collegiate on the front end. And then we'll come back sooner. But, so, there's pros and cons, and people have opinions. And, there's 171 days of instruction, and we've got to fit all those in. The Christmas break shortened 2 days would give us 2 days earlier in May. But then I could also argue that it might be better to have the longer week in May. Instead of getting out Tuesday the 23rd, if we got out the 25th and added those 2 days back at Christmas, that full week might be better for attendance, might feel more like a school week. And we could toss a lot of those things back and forth. And does it have an impact on instruction or not? I think people could make all kinds of arguments because, the teachers need to be rested and working and enthusiastic, and the students need to have some continuity and some consistency. And where that line is, I think, always subjective. So I think that's the reason I would, I hate for us not to adopt it tonight, but if the board sees that we need a little more feedback on that, I'm certainly ready to go get some feedback, and I've got some today. And again, most of that is staff wanting the full 10 days. That's what the feedback I've gotten today. I've gotten in Danville, and that is from Danville High School and Bate. Got a couple of feedbacks. We'll probably have more back from Bate. To be honest, I underestimated that 2 days. I did, And so some people feel strongly about that, and it's certainly something to consider.
I kind of like to know, like, Families First, what they think about how this is affecting families to have 3 weekends and 2 full weeks, and kind of get that take on it too. So if we.
Yeah, I think that's certainly a
revisit this.
concern. I mean, I think parents with young kids and, you know, that 3 weekends is just on the practical side of it, that's gonna seem like a long time, and that's from a dad who's had those young kids. So I'm speaking from, I think, something that I know. It's gonna seem like a long break when you have little ones. And then we talk about other factors that, like Families First might have some opinions about how it impacts students. So we're certainly, I think we've gotten the ball rolling on this. We're well down the road of it. I think we're gonna know something if the board would like to put it off another 3 or 4 weeks. I think it's certainly something. We're still gonna have it out in plenty of time. I think as long as we, people, I think they definitely know, I think spring break's pretty solid, that we feel like it's gonna be April 3rd through the 7th. I guess there still is a question on fall break.
Well, I've heard nothing about the fall break.
I haven't either.
I mean, so to me, that's not even an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't
fine
think
with
it
that.
is
fall
either.
break.
I think the issue are the 2 days, and that's an easy fix. And I really do not want to have us delay another month to do this calendar. We are having a special call meeting. It could be added to the agenda.
Yeah, and I'll have a little more staff feedback.
Because the agenda's not been established yet, and that's an option, but I do think the easy fix is taking care of the 2 days. That's my opinion.
I
Your
agree.
opinion is to go ahead and add the 2 days?
Take the 2 days to the end of the year, or however it wants to fix it.
You want to add the 2 days back to Christmas break and get
Yeah.
it to 16?
Yeah.
And
I
you
think
just
that's
approve
it.
this calendar and be done with it? Is that what you're
Well,
saying?
we don't have to approve it today. I'm just saying we could get a final draft in time for the special call meeting on Wednesday.
And really all that would be is just one, and I guess I need to go back and take my high school civics class again. I had the first Tuesday of November as the election day, so my 2 kids enjoyed, or my 2 boys, Ella never gives me a hard time, but Spence and Andrew thought that it was amusing that I didn't know when the federal election was. So that election day is actually the 8th, and so that moves it up, and it really helps us because it moves the 9 weeks break actually to the 9 weeks. So it actually worked out positively. But other than that, other than the 2 days at Christmas, I don't think there's anything that will be decided.
Okay, so is everybody okay with that? We'll look at this Wednesday
Yeah.
during our special call meeting.
Yeah, if you can just get just a little bit more feedback, I think, again, from what I've heard, like I emailed it, the consensus seems to be most everybody wants those 2 days back on Christmas break, so I think that's, if you can just.
I have to talk to
And we'll vote on
family
that on
first,
Tuesday.
and you service, get their opinions, but.
Okay, well, we'll just move that to Wednesday's special call meeting. Okay. All right, the next item on the agenda is Mr. McKinney again, Bate Middle School Tennis Courts, change order number 1.
So in the tennis court resurfacing, we ran into some unsuitable soil. And so instead of having change orders for that, we had an allowance to replace that soil with better material so that we wouldn't have problems we have now. And so there was, that was in there. So basically all we're doing is getting a refund of the allowance that we had for the unsuitable soil. So this is money coming back. So this is one we usually always approve and we're getting it back. Yeah, it's a good thing.
Okay, should I do a motion? Okay, is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve the change order number 1 for a credit of $3,675 on the Bate Middle School tennis courts project.
In a second?
Second.
And so I'll let Ms. Campbell join in here. That money that comes back, we can use that in the same type of place, facility for kind of light projects. So we can use that money back for other things related to Bay Middle. Is it, I don't know if that's just for the school or the tennis facility, or I'm not sure exactly.
It's on the tennis facility.
Yeah. And like if we need trees cut back, we had some trees cut back that were gonna, that had droppings and stuff on the courts before. We had some of those taken out. So if we have some leftover money, we need to do more tree work, that's something we could use that money for, so.
So it has to be
Tennis
related, work
rackets.
related to the tennis courts then.
Bleachers.
Yeah.
That area.
Or that area. And so if it was to fix that parking area down there, or
Bleachers, that's what Steve's saying.
bleachers that we've talked about having, where we flattened, where we had that area flattened out. And we had to pay for a little for that, so we can use that for that as well, so.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, there is a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, the next item is the finance report.
You want to do the motion?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so used to
Because I
that.
used to
Somebody else
always get
did
that
it, yeah.
backward, but yeah.
I have really ridiculous notes on what I'm supposed to say, and I still
All right.
messed it up. Okay, is there a motion to approve the finance report?
Oh,
Hang on. I'll make a motion to approve the financial report as submitted.
A second?
Second.
All right, Ms. Campbell.
Yes. All right, tonight, you all had asked some questions about property tax collection at the work session. And so I was just going to review where we were in that process for the current year. We were slated to collect on face value $6.9 million. And to date, as of December 14th, we have collected 90%. So we've collected a little better than $6 million. So left to collect at face value is $800,000, and that's on 1,000 pieces of property. So we have a total of 5,900 parcels of property. We have 1,000 that we still have to collect on. We have one exoneration that came to us this year, and what that means is either there was an error on the bill, and so they adjusted the bill, but in this case, this was Hillendale Apartments down on East Main. And so those apartments were sold, purchased by a nonprofit organization, and so it puts them in a tax exempt category. And so that means for us this year, we lose $14,000 revenue on that piece of property. Now, next year, whenever we levy tax rates, and I talk about the exoneration rate, it's that rate that's adjustable that allows us to catch up for exonerations given in this year. So I've been working on that piece of property and the reason why it's now tax exempt, but I don't have full answers on that one yet, but working on it. But so that can
who bought it?
change. It's an outfit, I didn't bring the initials on that. Do you have any recollection on that name?
It's like SOYCAR.
Yes, and they're located in Louisville.
Louisville Corporation.
And I can send you a little bit more information, or you can call me, but I'm working on the records on that to see what makes them tax exempt. So,
I mean, 14,000. And when you think
It's big.
about how many times properties are being sold to nonprofits that we no longer get revenue from.
That's right.
I mean, it starts adding up.
that's right.
It's phenomenal to me on how fast it does.
Yeah, so then that helps change the tax rate for all taxpayers because it erodes the tax base.
That's right.
So,
I mean, we actually end up, as individuals, paying more
that's right.
just because of it.
So I've got a little investigation going on that piece to see why. There's nothing we can change about it, but at least we can know why.
Okay.
So. Did you all have any other questions on the finance report? There's really nothing, so I was gonna go over in detail. Okay.
Okay, so we've had a motion and a second. All those in favor? Say aye. Opposed? Okay. now on to the payment of invoices. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the payment of invoices totaling $680,084.27 as presented.
Second.
Second.
I was just going to call your attention to two there, to Tennis Technologies. That's the company that did our track renovation and the tennis court renovation. And so we paid them out $174,000. And Ross Torrent, we paid them $182,000 on this bill run, and that was for 5 different projects that we have going with them. Hogsett Brook, Bait Brook, the elementary renovation, track, and tennis. So we had a big payout to them.
Any other questions? I was just wondering, I don't have it open right now, but the invoice for the Leader in Me for Tolliver, several bills from that, is that something that we are completely funding, or did that come from their
Tolliver is
grant,
funding
or-
it from their sources of revenue, so it's not general fund money. It's monies that they are using, whether it's their Section 6 money, district activity, their activity funds, and/or Title I funds. So
Okay.
they're using their allocations to fund that project.
Okay. Thanks. All right, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor of the payment of invoices, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay, passes. Okay. And let's see. We just need a motion to pass a consent agenda.
I move that we accept the consent agenda for approval without discussion.
A second? Second. All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right, and there's no need for an executive session, so I just need a motion to adjourn. Did I miss anything? Hold on. That seemed like that was really fast. There we go. Okay.